Stephanie and Ross Anderson reopened the old Waioli Tea Room in Manoa in November 2018 as the Waioli Kitchen and Bake Shop. She's a pastor and he was in the restaurant business for several years. Now Steph and Ross are helping people rebuild their lives by teaching them job and life skills.
I'm Stephanie Anderson. My husband and I run Waioli Kitchen and Bake Shop. This is a restaurant that has been on a mission since 1922. Salvation Army had an orphanage up here, and they started the restaurant in order to teach the girls to make pies and jams and jellies. That was the original mission of the restaurant. They don't have orphanages anymore, but they have done training facility for single mothers, and now they have a drug and alcohol treatment center here. So we've taken the restaurant, we want to put it back on mission, and that is taking girls from the drug and alcohol treatment center and training them vocationally, basic life skills and that sort of thing. I volunteered in the women's prison. I had seen a video that was asking for help. What we were doing is our church was showing Wednesday night videos at the prison, and they just needed someone to just sort of babysit. Well, then the chaplain started asking me, would you be interested in doing one-on-one counseling? And then would you be interested in possibly teaching a class? And then would you be interested in possibly preaching on Sunday mornings? I had no skill in any of these areas. I had no training in any of these areas. I was trained as I went. That's how I learned. So sometimes you're equipped and you're called, but we always say that God doesn't do that, that God actually equips those that he calls. The state wasn't recognizing our program. We're a faith-based program in the prison, and because we were stay-at-home moms, which is what I was, so they didn't take us legitimately as a program that people could use to get out of prison. So I decided to go back to school, and I got my degree in pastoral ministry. That's what I thought I was going to do, was I was getting my degree in order to go back into the prison, to be legitimate, to be able to help these ladies, to counsel them and teach and do that sort of thing. But going back to school, I realized I love college students and I love teaching and I have a passion for it. So I actually thought that was the road that I was going to go down. About 3 years ago, my husband, who had been in the restaurant business for 30 years, was asked to retire. It was time for him to retire. And so we had absolutely no idea what we were going to do. One of my friends said, why don't you consider reopening Waioli Tea Room? And our first thought was absolutely not. That's not something that we would be interested in doing. Basically because the tea room had opened and closed so many times over the years. The reputation was that it couldn't sustain itself. It wasn't a good investment. Don't do it. Whatever you do, don't do it. And that was the advice that we were given by many chefs, many very well-intended folks. Don't do it. But if you ever want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans, yeah? So here we are. Well, honestly, I never intended to be in the restaurant business, never wanted to be in the restaurant business, didn't even know what part I could play in helping my husband in this. I'm a people person, I love people, I love working with women that were in prison. And so my husband decided that would be my role. My role is to talk to people and tell them our story. That's what I do. Ross does all the day-to-day operations, and it actually blends the two things that we do so well together. So the reason that we decided to do this restaurant was because of that, because I have a heart and a passion for watching people's lives be changed. He has a heart and a passion for making sure that people are served good food and that the restaurant runs well. And so putting those things together put us on mission. We felt like that may be the missing key in what was happening at Waioli, why it couldn't stay open, yeah, that it had kind of lost or maybe drifted from its mission. So we wanted to put it back on mission. All of the furniture, everything in our restaurant has been repurposed from other restaurants, and the theme of our restaurant is found treasures and second chances, and that's what we want to give our folks.
My name is Janelle Briones and I work in the Waioli Kitchen and Bake Shop. I do the dishes, I make the drinks, I interact mostly with people too, and it's like a good opportunity, How I got hired is I actually live in the Salvation Army dorm. I didn't know we could eat here, so one day me and my boyfriend just was like, we're hungry. And we've seen a lot of people coming through here and we're like, hey, let's go check that out. I think it's like a place to eat. So we came in, and then one of the girls that lives with me, she was right here up in the front. And then she told me to come in. And I was like, oh, do we eat here? And she was like, yes, you do. Next thing you know, she asked me if I wanted a job. I was like in a place where it was kind of dark and I didn't feel like I had hope. I recently came out of prison on November 14th. I was in a Mary Scott Law program and I relapsed. Anyways, I checked myself into Castle after that because I really wanted the help. I went into Castle, and then like 3 days after, my parole officer told me that I was accepted here at the Salvation Army. I was like one of the first parolees to be contracted with them. I was asking for some kind of miracle because I needed to pay restitution. I needed to have some kind of job, and at the same time I needed structure in my sobriety. I thought it was like the end of the world, like I couldn't do all of that. I thought it was gonna be like a big hassle to get hired and stuff, but next thing you know, here comes Ross. He's like, you wanna work here? And I was like, yeah, I really do. And he just looked at me and he's just like, okay, just come back at 2:30, we'll talk and you can fill this application and we'll go from there. And I was like,
my name is Ross Anderson. I do just about everything here. I was primarily a front of house person. I do have some experience, but it's not training in the kitchen. So I'm really a front of house guy. Moved up through the ranks, became general manager. Eventually I was asked to become a regional manager and eventually vice president for the state. For TS Restaurants, I oversaw 8 restaurants in the islands, all of which were very high volume. Even though this amazing building looked so attractive, the door didn't swing open, but it was the only thing that would keep opening for me. So it's amazing. I loved it from the beginning. I mean, the architecture, the setting here in Manoa, working with the Salvation Army, those are all tremendous pluses. But it was a difficult path to walk down to get a deal, to figure out the finances to make that work. Being the fact that we're helping men and women that are in transition from the recovery program, it made sense to us to stick with those meal periods that are not normally associated with having a glass of wine or a beer. It was the right thing to do. Breakfast and lunch it's great. It's early. This is a beautiful place. When we started talking about the menu, it looked like the Cheesecake Factory. There was 101 things on it, and I wanted every type of muffin and waffle and pancake and eggs Benedict. And I have a good friend, Peter Merriman, who just tell me, look, you're blowing it. You want to go really narrow, have great ingredients, the freshest things you can find, the best things you can afford, do what you can in-house, but stay really narrow because the skill set of the people that you're going to be training is going to have to be able to assemble this, so it needs to be simple in a consistent manner so that every guest gets the same plate, so that every guest has the same experience, and when they come in from one week to the next, it's a repeatable good experience.
This is more actually than just a job to me because they actually take the time to like ask how you're doing, check in, pray for you, and all this like good stuff, you know, like try to tell us what we're doing wrong or how we can better ourselves. Because I've never learned anything about food industry, like really. I never even learned how to cook rice until I was like, went to prison. I knew nothing because I'm the only child with no kids. So I was spoiled, really, really spoiled. I couldn't even like do the dishes if it killed me. But now I'm like all around here. And if you come here and eat, you'll see me all over the place. I'm like really grateful for them because they did give me a second chance. Yeah, right now I just feel like I'm on a natural high.
We have about half a dozen folks that have come out of prison that have a bridge, so they go from prison to come here, or they have gone to a halfway house and that's where they're living right now. And this is the job that they have in the meantime, yeah, in between this and whatever it is that they're going to go on to do in their future.
The community has embraced us. We're doing really, really good, especially on weekends. It's phenomenal, the business and the support that we've gotten from the community. We're seeing visitors from the mainland starting to show up. We're seeing people from overseas that are finding us. So we've set this up with our whole business plan to go and, you know, there'd be certain milestones. Our weekend business is doing great. We have a private room that we've just opened up. That's an opportunity for people to come down and experience Waioli. It seats 35 people, and we have media in there so that they can do, you know, meetings and have PowerPoints, or they can do the baby showers and the events that Waioli was famous for. So those things, we're just getting that off the ground, and those are available during the week and on the weekends for people that want to experience Waioli in a slightly different venue. You know, and if you'd like to find out more about us, our menu doesn't change that much, but there are some things that do evolve, and you can always check us out on our website. It's www.waiolikitchen.com, and that tells you about our mission. It tells you a little bit about the sense of place of where we're at here in Manoa. It tells you a little bit about some of the neat and fun things that we have going on here.
In part 2 next month, you'll hear more about their story and what they've learned from the experience.